The silent invasion. Captain Maya Chen stood at the viewport of the UES Intrepid, watching stars streak by as her patrol ship cruised through the outer reaches of human space. Humanity had spread across 27 star systems in the century since the discovery of the Alcubierre drive, establishing colonies and mining operations on dozens of worlds. The United Earth Fleet existed mostly as a peacekeeping force these days. Pirates were rare, and humanity had yet to encounter any intelligent alien life. 3 months of patrol duty along the Perseus Arm had left Maya restless. The Intrepid was a top-of-the-line corvette, bristling with weaponry that had never been fired outside of training exercises. Her crew of 65 were the best the fleet had to offer, but they'd never faced a real threat. "Another thrilling day in paradise," Lieutenant Raj Kumar said, approaching with a steaming cup of coffee. As the ship's tactical officer, he was equally bored by the lack of action. Maya accepted the coffee with a nod. "Don't jinx it. Boring is safe, Captain." The voice of communications officer Sarah Okafor cut through the quiet bridge. "We're receiving an automated distress signal from Helios Station." Maya straightened immediately. On speakers, static crackled through the bridge, followed by a fragmented message. "Under attack. Unknown. Harvesting. Please send." The transmission cut off abruptly. "When was this sent?" Maya demanded. "Timestamp indicates 47 hours ago, Captain." Maya's blood ran cold. Helios Station was home to nearly 3,000 miners and their families. "Plot a course to Helios. Maximum speed. Sound general quarters." As the Intrepid changed course, Maya addressed her executive officer. "Commander Wallace, what do we know about Helios?" Wallace pulled up the data on his tablet. "Mining colony, primarily titanium and rare earth elements. Minimal defense capabilities, just a basic shield and a few point defense turrets for meteor protection. Pirates would have no reason to attack a mining colony when shipping vessels make easier targets," Raj observed. Maya nodded. "And pirates don't harvest. I don't like the sound of that." The journey to Helios took 16 hours at maximum FTL. When they dropped back into normal space, the bridge fell silent. Helios Station should have been a hive of activity. Shuttles moving between the orbital facility and the planet below, communications traffic filling the airwaves. Instead, there was nothing but eerie silence. The station itself appeared intact, but dark. No lights, no movement. "Life signs?" Maya asked quietly. Science Officer Dr. Lin checked her readings. "I'm not detecting any human life signs on the station, Captain. But there's something unusual about the energy readings. They don't match any known technology in our database." "Scan the planet." Lin manipulated her console. "Population centers are empty. But I'm detecting unusual energy signatures in the northern hemisphere, concentrated around the main mining site." Maya made her decision. "Prepare a landing party. I want a 6-person team ready in 15 minutes. Commander Wallace, you have the bridge." 30 minutes later, Maya led her team through the deserted corridors of Helios Station, environmental suits and weapons ready. Emergency lighting cast long shadows as they moved through the station's main habitat ring. "It's like everyone just vanished," Raj whispered, studying the abandoned mess hall. Food still sat on plates, coffee cups half full. "Whatever happened, it happened fast." "Captain, I got something." Security Chief Torres called from a side corridor. The data center. The station's data center remained operational on backup power. Torres managed to access the security logs. "My God," Maya breathed as they watched the footage. The video showed tall, slender figures moving through the station. They weren't human, their movements too fluid, too precise. Their skin was a mottled gray that seemed to shift and ripple, almost as if it wasn't entirely solid. They carried no visible weapons, but objects and people simply flew toward them, as if pulled by an invisible force. The footage showed colonists being dragged through the air, struggling helplessly against the invisible pull before going limp. The aliens methodically gathered them, along with various equipment and materials, and departed. "They're manipulating gravity somehow," Dr. Lin said, her voice tight with scientific curiosity, despite the horror. Maya continued watching as more of the aliens spread throughout the station. "Download everything. We need to get this back to Earth Command." As Torres worked, Raj suddenly stiffened. "Captain, I'm picking up movement. Lower levels, heading this way." "How many?" "At least a dozen signatures. Not human." Maya made the call instantly. "Grab what you can and fall back to the shuttle. Now." They moved quickly through the corridors, Torres clutching the data core. As they rounded the final corner toward the docking bay, they came face to face with them. 3 of the aliens stood in the corridor, their forms seeming to waver and shift in the dim light. They had no discernible facial features, just smooth gray skin where a face should be, and long, multi-jointed limbs that moved with unsettling precision. For a moment, nobody moved. Then every loose object in the corridor, tools, panels, even dust, began floating toward the aliens. "Open fire," Maya ordered. The team's weapons discharged, but the projectiles slowed and stopped before reaching the aliens, suspended in midair. Then, with a gesture that was almost casual, one of the aliens sent the bullets hurtling back toward the team. "Fall back," Maya shouted as the bullets embedded themselves in the wall behind them. They retreated, firing sporadically to cover their movement. The aliens followed, unhurried but relentless. As they fled, Maya saw more of the creatures emerging from side passages. "Alternative route to the shuttle bay," she demanded. "Maintenance tunnels." Torres responded immediately. "Access hatch 20 meters back." They reached the hatch, Maya covering their retreat as the others climbed in. Something invisible grabbed at her, tugging her backward with impossible strength. She fired wildly at the approaching aliens and dove into the tunnel as Torres sealed the hatch behind her. "That won't hold them for long," Torres warned. They crawled through the narrow maintenance tunnels, emerging finally in the shuttle bay. Their craft sat where they had left it, apparently untouched. "Get aboard now," Maya ordered as the bay doors began to shake, metal warping inward, as if under enormous pressure. The shuttle lifted off just as the bay doors buckled. Through the viewport, Maya saw dozens of the aliens flooding into the bay, their forms seeming to ripple and distort as they reached toward the departing shuttle. The shuttle rocked violently as invisible forces pulled at it from multiple directions. The hull groaned under the stress. "Full power to engines," Maya shouted to the pilot. The shuttle broke free with a sudden lurch, accelerating away from the station. Maya watched through the viewport as Helios Station diminished behind them. The aliens gathered at the ruined bay doors, watching them escape. Back aboard the Intrepid, Maya reviewed the data they'd recovered while Dr. Lin examined the few samples they'd managed to collect. "They call themselves the Shroud," Lin reported, reading from the recovered data. "At least, that's the closest translation. They communicate through gravitational fluctuations rather than sound or light. The station's science team managed to record quite a bit before they were taken." "Any indication of why they're taking people?" Maya asked. Lin's expression darkened. The science team had theories, but nothing conclusive. "They seem to be collecting. Not just people, but materials, technology, information. We need to warn Earth," Maya said, turning to communications. "Send everything we have to Fleet Command, highest priority." Before Officer Okafor could respond, the ship's sensors blared a warning. "Multiple contacts," Raj called out, "emerging from the planet's shadow. Configuration matches the alien vessels from the station logs." Maya watched as the tactical display filled with incoming contacts, dozens of them, smooth and sleek, resembling elongated teardrops. They moved with impossible speed and precision, quickly surrounding the Intrepid. "Evasive maneuvers," Maya ordered. "Prepare for FTL jump." The Intrepid shuddered as unseen forces began pulling at its hull. "They're using their gravity manipulation to try to hold us," Wallace reported. Hull integrity at 92% and falling. Divert power from non-essential systems to the engines. Maya commanded. We need to break free. The ship's engines strained against the invisible grip as more alien vessels approached. FTL drive charge, but we can't break free of their gravity well, the navigator reported. Maya considered her options quickly. Tactical. Target the nearest vessel with a full spread of missiles. Fire on my mark. The weapons officer complied, locking onto the closest alien ship. Fire. The missiles launched, only to slow dramatically as they approached their target. But they had served their purpose. The aliens' focus shifted to stopping the incoming projectiles, momentarily weakening their hold on the Intrepid. Now, jump to FTL. The Intrepid lurched forward and disappeared into FTL just as the aliens renewed their grasp. Maya felt the ship shudder one last time before the stars blurred into streams of light. As they sped toward Earth, Maya stared at the data they had collected. Humanity had finally encountered intelligent alien life, and their first contact had turned into a nightmare. The Shroud had taken an entire colony without firing a shot, using technology humans couldn't comprehend. And Maya strongly suspected this was just the beginning. Send a priority message to Earth Command, she told communications. Tell them we're bringing evidence of the first alien threat to humanity, and tell them to prepare the fleet. Humanity's response. The UES Intrepid dropped out of FTL in Earth orbit 3 days later. Maya had spent the journey reviewing the data from Helios Station and preparing her report. What they had discovered was worse than she had initially feared. The Shroud weren't just taking people, they were systematically harvesting entire colonies. Helios wasn't their first target. It was simply the first to get a distress signal out. According to the recovered data, at least 3 other remote outposts had gone silent in the preceding months, their disappearances attributed to communications failures or technical issues. Admiral Sato of Earth Command listened to Maya's report with increasing gravity. The evidence was undeniable. The security footage, the sensor data, the samples Dr. Lin had analyzed. But the implications were almost too terrible to accept. You realize what you're suggesting, Captain Chin, Sato said when Maya finished her presentation. An alien species with technology far beyond our own is systematically abducting our colonists for unknown purposes. That's exactly what I'm suggesting, Admiral, Maya replied. And based on their pattern of movement, I believe they're working their way inward toward the more populated systems. The Admiral looked at the star map where Maya had plotted the locations of the silent colonies. A clear pattern emerged, a methodical progression toward Earth and its most populous colonies. How many ships did you encounter? He asked. At least 30 around Helios alone, Maya answered. And given their technological advantage, conventional military strategy won't work against them. Their gravity manipulation renders our weapons nearly useless. Admiral Sato was silent for a long moment. I'll convene the Defense Council immediately. In the meantime, I'm promoting you to Commodore and giving you command of Task Force Aegis. You've seen these creatures in action. You'll lead our response. Sir, with respect, what response? We can't fight them conventionally. Then we'll fight them unconventionally, Sato replied. Humanity didn't spread across 27 star systems by giving up when faced with challenges. The next week was a blur of activity. While the Defense Council mobilized the fleet, Maya worked with Earth's best scientists to develop countermeasures against the Shroud's gravity manipulation. Dr. Lin, now heading the research team, made the first breakthrough. They're using quantum gravitational fields, she explained to Maya, pointing to her simulations, essentially creating microscopic, temporary wormholes to manipulate space-time itself. Can we block it? Maya asked. Not exactly, Lin admitted, but we can disrupt it. I've been analyzing the samples we collected, and there's a pattern to their field generation. If we create a counter-resonance at precisely the right frequency. Maya watched as Lin's simulation showed a Shroud vessel attempting to use its gravity weapon, only for the effect to collapse harmlessly. How quickly can we adapt this to our ships? Maya asked. We already have. The first prototypes are being installed on the Intrepid and the other vessels in Task Force Aegis. While Lin worked on defense, others focused on offense. If conventional weapons wouldn't work, humanity would need to innovate. Gravity manipulation works both ways. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura explained as he showed Maya his weapon design. We can't match their control, but we can create localized gravitational singularities. Essentially, miniature black holes with extremely short lifespans. Maya raised an eyebrow. You want to fire black holes at them? Nakamura nodded. They'll only exist for milliseconds, but that's enough time to cause catastrophic disruption to anything caught in their event horizon. Even their gravity manipulation can't counter the fundamental laws of physics. How do we avoid being caught in our own weapons' effects? Maya asked. Directional shielding and precise timing, Nakamura replied. It's risky, but it's the best option we have. As the preparations continued, more colonies went silent. The Shroud were moving faster now, as if aware that humanity had discovered their presence. They were no longer being subtle. They were racing toward the heart of human space. 7 days after the Intrepid's return, long-range sensors detected a massive Shroud fleet entering the Alpha Centauri system, the oldest and most populated human colony outside the Sol system. They're not even trying to hide anymore, Admiral Seto observed grimly as they watched the tactical display. Over 100 Shroud vessels had appeared, surrounding Alpha Centauri Prime. The evacuation got most civilians out, but we still have defense forces on the ground. Maya studied the display. They're not attacking the planet directly. They're focusing on the orbital infrastructure first, just like at Helios. They're being methodical. Task Force Aegis is ready, Commodore, Sato said. All ships are equipped with Dr. Lin's counter-resonance technology and Dr. Nakamura's singularity projectors. This is our moment. Maya took a deep breath. The Shroud don't know we've developed countermeasures. We can use that surprise to our advantage. The plan was simple in concept, complex in execution. Task Force Aegis, 27 ships, representing each human-settled star system, would engage the Shroud fleet at Alpha Centauri, drawing their attention while a smaller, faster strike team led by Maya herself would target what they believed to be the Shroud command vessel. All ships, this is Commodore Chen, Maya broadcast as Task Force Aegis prepared to depart. We face an enemy unlike any humanity has encountered before. They have superior technology and have already taken thousands of our people, but they've never faced human determination and ingenuity. She paused, looking at her crew on the bridge of the Intrepid. Today, we'd fight not just for Earth, but for all humanity. For every colony world, for every person taken, and for our future among the stars. The Shroud believe we are easy prey. Today, we proved them wrong. Task Force Aegis arrived at Alpha Centauri 18 hours later, dropping out of FTL in perfect formation. The Shroud fleet continued its methodical dismantling of the orbital facilities, seemingly unconcerned by the human arrival. They're not even breaking formation, Raj observed from his tactical station. They don't consider us a threat. That's about to change, Maya replied. All ships, activate counter-resonance fields and prepare singularity projectors. Attack pattern Omega. The human fleet split into 3 groups, approaching the Shroud vessels from different angles. For several tense moments, the Shroud continued to ignore them, until the first human ships came within weapons range. Several Shroud vessels broke off to intercept, extending their gravitational grasp toward the approaching ships. Maya watched, breath held, as the invisible forces reached for her fleet, and found nothing to grab. Dr. Lin's counter-resonance fields worked perfectly, creating a bubble of stabilized space-time around each human vessel that the Shroud couldn't manipulate. For the first time, the aliens hesitated, their perfect formation faltering. Now, Maya ordered. All ships, open fire. The singularity projectors activated, firing microscopic black holes that blinked in and out of existence in milliseconds. But in those milliseconds, they tore through shroud vessels with unstoppable force, ripping apart their hulls regardless of whatever defenses they possessed. The shroud fleet reacted with surprising speed, reorganizing to counter this unexpected threat. Their ships moved with incredible agility, evading most of the singularity projections and returning fire with their own weapons, beams of concentrated gravitational force that warped space itself. Despite the counter-resonance fields, several human ships suffered direct hits, their hulls crumpling under forces that twisted metal like paper. "They're adapting," Maya noted grimly. "Strike team, prepare to move on the command vessel. Main fleet, continue engagement and draw their forces away from our target." The Intrepid broke away with 5 other ships, accelerating toward the largest shroud vessel at the center of their formation. It was massive, nearly a kilometer long, and surrounded by a protective screen of smaller craft. "They're concentrating their defenses," Raj reported. "They know what we're targeting." Maya nodded. "They're intelligent, but so are we. Execute maneuver Prometheus." The strike team suddenly split, each vessel firing its singularity projectors in seemingly random patterns. The shroud defenders moved to intercept, spreading thin to cover multiple threats. The Intrepid slipped through the gap, accelerating directly toward the command vessel. "They're locking onto us," Wallace warned. "Multiple gravitational anomalies forming. Evasive pattern delta," Maya ordered. "Bring us alongside their primary hull and prepare boarding teams." The Intrepid shuddered as it evaded most of the shroud attacks, though one glancing hit sent alarms blaring throughout the ship. "Hull breach on deck C. Contained," Wallace reported. "We're in position." Maya rose from her command chair. "I'll lead the boarding team." "Commander Wallace, you have the bridge." "Captain," Wallace began to protest. "We need to understand them to defeat them." Maya cut him off. "I need to see inside that ship." Minutes later, Maya led a team of 12 through the airlock and onto the shroud vessel. The alien ship's interior was unlike anything they had expected. Not corridors and rooms, but a continuous space of flowing, organic-looking material that shifted and pulsed with an eerie rhythm. "It's like the ship is alive," Dr. Lin whispered, scanning the surroundings. They moved deeper into the vessel, encountering surprisingly little resistance. The few shroud beings they did encounter seemed confused by the humans' presence, their normal gravitational attacks ineffective against the counter-resonance generators each team member wore. "According to these readings, we're approaching the center of the ship," Lin said. "Energy signatures are off the charts." They entered a vast chamber at the ship's heart. In the center stood a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with inner light. Around it floated hundreds of translucent spheres, each containing what appeared to be a human being in suspended animation. "The missing colonists," Maya breathed. "At least some of them." But what caught her attention was the wall of the chamber, a vast display showing Earth and its colonies, with detailed information about each location scrolling alongside in the shroud's strange symbolic language. Lin activated her translator, trying to make sense of the symbols. "They're not just taking people, Commodore. They're studying us." "Why?" Maya asked. Lin's expression showed dawning comprehension as she read more. "According to this, humans are the first species they've encountered who exist primarily in 3-dimensional spacetime, but have developed technology to manipulate the 4th dimension, time. Our FTL drives create minute temporal distortions that they find fascinating. They're abducting entire colonies to study our technology." Maya asked incredulously. "Not just the technology," Lin replied grimly. "Us. They want to understand how 3-dimensional beings could develop 4-dimensional comprehension. They consider it impossible, an anomaly." Maya looked at the suspended colonists with new understanding. "They're specimens." A sudden movement caught her attention. 3 shroud beings had entered the chamber, moving with purpose toward the team. Unlike the others they had encountered, These wore elaborately patterned coverings over their shifting forms. Leaders, Lynn guessed, still reading the displayed information. I think they want to communicate. The shroud stopped several meters away, their forms pulsing in complex patterns. Lynn's translator struggled to interpret. They're saying they've never encountered resistance like ours. They're curious. Maya stepped forward. Tell them to release our people and leave our systems immediately. Lynn translated as best she could. The shroud conferred among themselves, their bodies rippling in what might have been agitation. One moved closer, its form shifting until it roughly approximated a human shape. We collect knowledge. It communicated through gravitational pulses that Lynn's translator rendered into halting speech. You, impossible beings. 3 space creatures with 4 space understanding. We are not specimens, Maya replied firmly. We are sentient beings with rights to our own existence. Your collection is an act of war against humanity. The shroud seemed to consider this. War, inefficient. Study, necessary. You, unique in galaxy. Maya had a sudden insight. You've been to many star systems. Have you encountered other intelligent life? Many life. No intelligence like humans. No other species crosses dimensions as you do. Lynn looked at Maya with widening eyes. They'd been searching the galaxy for advanced intelligence, and were the first they found who can manipulate space-time. Maya made a decision. If knowledge is what you want, we can share it willingly, but you must release our people and negotiate peacefully. The shroud conferred again, more intensely. Finally, the spokesperson returned. Concept, new. Willing sharing of knowledge, efficient. War, wasteful. Throughout the exchange, Maya had been subtly signaling to her team. They had placed singularity projector charges at key points throughout the chamber, ready to destroy the Shroud command vessel if negotiations failed. Here is our proposal, Maya said. You release all humans you have taken, return what you have harvested, and withdraw from our territory. In exchange, we will establish a scientific exchange program where our species can learn from each other in peace. The Shroud's form rippled in what might have been consideration. Acceptable. War damages knowledge. Cooperation preserves. As if to demonstrate good faith, the crystalline structure pulsed, and the suspended colonists began to stir within their spheres. Tell your fleet to stand down, Maya instructed. We will do the same. Hours later, as the liberated colonists were being transferred to human ships and the Shroud fleet began its withdrawal, Maya stood on the bridge of the Intrepid watching history unfold. They're actually honoring the agreement, Wallace said, sounding surprised. They're scientists in their way, Maya replied. Once they understood there was a more efficient method to obtain what they wanted, war became illogical. Dr. Lynn approached with her final analysis. They've been traveling the galaxy for thousands of years, searching for other intelligent life. They found plenty of species, but none that had developed the ability to manipulate spacetime until us. Our FTL technology is what caught their attention. They detected the temporal distortions from our engines across light years. So humanity's greatest achievement nearly led to our downfall, Maya observed. And ultimately saved us, Lynn added. They respect intelligence and knowledge above all else. Once they recognized us as equals rather than specimens, everything changed. As the last Shroud vessel disappeared into FTL, Maya reflected on how quickly everything had changed. Humanity had gone from thinking itself alone in the universe to facing extinction to establishing first contact, all within the span of 2 weeks. Send a message to Earth Command, she told communications. The immediate threat has been contained. The Shroud have agreed to peaceful scientific exchange and informed them that the galaxy is more crowded than we thought, just not with anyone like us. Admiral Seto's face appeared on the main screen. Commodore, the Defense Council is awaiting your full report. What you've accomplished today will be remembered as one of humanity's defining moments. Maya looked around at her crew. Humans who had faced the unknown and not only survived but forged a new path forward. Tell them humanity has just taken its first real step into the galactic community, she replied. And we did it our way, not through surrender, not through overwhelming force, but through the perfect human balance of determination and diplomacy. As the Intrepid set course for Earth, Maya knew that everything had changed. Humanity was no longer alone, no longer ignorant of what waited beyond their borders. The galaxy was vast and filled with wonders and dangers they were only beginning to comprehend. But if there was one thing the encounter with the Shroud had proven, it was that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their technology. It was their adaptability, their ingenuity, and their unique perspective. In a universe of countless species, humanity had something special to offer. And now, the stars were truly within their reach.